Super Rugby round number 12, the Saturday games, of which there were five, are all done. We've had another draw and some pretty much all relatively close games, no real blowouts in this Saturday. So that's good for the comp, that things are nice and even. My team lost, which was particularly frustrating, but hey, can't have everything. The first one, which was an early game, Hurricanes Rebels, one of the top New Zealand teams, not the top, but against the top Aussie team. So last year when they played, the Hurricanes gave them a bit of a hiding over there in Melbourne. And it looked like that was going to happen again in this one, because the Hurricanes sure blew that scoreline out pretty quickly. But it was a game of two halves. But you look at the scoring, Laumape, who busted some people, or just people didn't really try to tackle him. Wasn't a good look for the Rebels. Scored early, made it 7-0. Barrett from a line-out play showed some gas, made it 14-0. The Rebels did get out of jail from losing their own line-out 5 meters out with the Hurricanes knocked on. But then not long later, Hussein went in out wide. The conversion hit the post, 19-0, and this is only after 14 minutes. Fafita went straight through them after Almua had gone through Will Guinea. 26-0 after 21 minutes. It was pretty bad. And it was looking reminiscent of last year. I was tempted to put out a tweet just to say how one-sided this was going to be and that the Rebels aren't quite there, but I resisted the urge. Not because I really thought the Rebels were going to come back, but I thought, it's best not to speak too soon. Sure enough, that's where the scoring for the most part ended for the Canes. The Rebels went on the attack for a bit, scrum, penalty, but weren't able to score. Adi Savia did go over the line, but the TMO ruled that he'd knocked it on, and it was pretty clear that he had knocked it on. That's how it was at halftime. Second half, the Rebels' scrum still looked pretty strong. And they actually started scoring. Matt Phillip went through a gap, made it 26-7. Meeks got his try also from a line-out move. It seems to be a pretty good attacking weapon in Super Rugby this year for all the teams. 26-14. At that point, it's kind of getting towards game on. And then Hodge gets a try out wide after a big scrum and a turnover. Makes it 26-19. Absolutely game on. Interestingly, though, then Geordie Barrett gets the Hurricanes' only points of the second half from a long-range penalty. The ball had to be held because it was pretty windy. The Rebels had missed a penalty right early on in this game, partly due to the wind. 29-19. That was the final score, but it wasn't the final say, because a few minutes later, the Rebels, hot on attack, win a penalty, and it wasn't the only game this week where a late kind of penalty decision haunted a team. It was a relatively easy kick at goal for Quade Cooper. They went for that rather than going for an opportunity to win the game, so they were putting themselves within 7, get a bonus point, and then potentially attack for a win, rather than get a 7 or 5 pointer now and then look for a second try to get a win. So yeah, they went for the bonus point and potential draw, but they missed the kick. Quade Cooper missed the kick, so missed the kick for a bonus point, missed the kick for a chance to win the game, or draw the game, sorry. But yeah, that was just a bit poor, a bit of a stink end for the Rebels after really coming back into that game and making it something at the end. Interestingly, a few things for the Rebels. I guess Dane Haylett-Petty was back, but he did look a bit off the pace, like a guy who hasn't played rugby for a few weeks, and that's to be fair. Reece Hodge got past the ball to his face at one point, which was entertaining. I feel sorry for Wes Hussein, because a couple of times they just threw the ball out to him in his own goal, and then he just got flattened when they had advantage, so his teammates putting him in awkward positions. Either way, definitely a game of two halves. The Hurricanes will be pretty disappointed that they broke out to such a huge lead and then almost let the Rebels back into the game. 3 points after that Fafita try and conversion is pretty poor, but still take a win absolutely. The Rebels, opposite, they will be really disappointed with the way they started that game. They just got all run over. Pleased with the fact that they came back into the game, but disappointed they weren't able to get anything out of it. So It's perhaps not all doom and gloom, but yeah, not ideal result for them. And I suppose the Hurricanes, in trying to pursue, if it's even possible, the Crusaders at this point, when the Crusaders got a draw and a 3-try bonus point. A bonus point win here would have been nice, but they let that slip as well. I guess that is one of the nice things about the new bonus point system, is that the Hurricanes would have got a bonus point under the old system for the 4 tries, but the fact that they lost their bonus point represents the fact that they slipped in the game, so I guess that's one thing. Neither team tackled well, surprisingly. 75% for the Canes, 62% for the Rebels, so pretty poor. Canes were bad on the discipline, 12 penalties to the Rebels 3. You do have to wonder a little bit when a team only concedes 3 penalties, but lowly penalised game overall, I guess, compared to some of the others. Rebels ended up with more territory and more possession, 54% territory, 61% possession. Second half was 63% possession and 79% territory for the Rebels. So the Canes did well to hold them out. Rebels ended up with more run meters. The Hurricanes go to play the Blues at Eden Park next week. I'll be going to that one. It should be an interesting one. You'd have to say the Hurricanes on current form. And the Rebels host the Reds. So in terms of the Aussie Conference, important game for both teams. Next one, Highlanders Chiefs play out a 31-all draw. Chiefs with more tries, but Highlanders with the better kicking percentage in this one. Having watched this one, overall, you would probably have to say the Highlanders will be the less pleased of the two, because they had the Chiefs, and yet the Chiefs still managed to get in there and get the draw. Then again, neither side is going to be happy, because the Highlanders had only just got themselves back into a decent position on the table, and could have definitely used the home win, whereas the Chiefs, their season is kind of teetering on the brink, and a win would have put them back in the conversation, but I'm not sure if a draw just delays the inevitable or if it still gives them a chance. Anton Leonard-Brown was denied early. TMO found an error in the lead up to his kick and chase and try. So Josh Ioane got the first try. Again, next phase after a line-out. So line-outs are a key attacking platform for all the teams. 7-0. Weber got his try for the Chiefs after an Ardron line break. I thought there was a hint of a forward pass in that one, but it was fine. So 7-0. Franklin was denied from the TMO as he was held up for the Highlanders, but they were still putting the pressure on. Ben Smith went over after a big build-up, and he kind of just snuck through from a bit of a pick and go. Made it 14 points to 7. Speaking of Ben Smith, that guy seems to have injured his hamstring, so we will monitor his situation with interest. I haven't heard how long he's going to be out, but the fact that Damian McKenzie's out for the World Cup, Steve Hansen will be very concerned about Ben Smith's well-being. The Chiefs had a couple of plays in the first half, but it wasn't looking all that slick. And then 34 minutes, Luke Jacobson got his try. Again, I thought there was a hint of a forward pass. I'm not anti-Chiefs or anything. It just looked a little bit that way. But they went through the blind side. He showed a bit of strength. They missed the conversion, made it 14-12. Marty McKenzie's kicking is not all that good. I don't know if they've got any other options, but it's getting a bit costly in a game like this anyway. But yeah, the Chiefs attacked right until half-time. Interestingly, Aaron Smith made a real schoolboy error, and that the Highlanders got a penalty in their own half after holding the Chiefs out, and he just kicked it out. But the whole thing is, since they've changed those laws a couple of years ago that you can still keep playing after the halftime hooter from a penalty, you need to tap it and then kick it. They just kicked it straight out, so they had to do the line out. It didn't cost them anything, but on another day, that could have been costly. And for a guy who's a professional rugby player, you should probably know the rules. And it's interesting that the ref didn't just continue. He could have just let it slide, but no, he went by the book, which is good to see. Second half, Faddis got his try, 46 minutes, fairly early on. Aaron Smith with a bit of a sneaky little offload. It was pretty slick. It kind of makes up for that blunder in the first half. 21-12. Lenchus out wide for his try. 28-12. It's kind of all Highlanders at that point, and the Chiefs are kind of looking dead and buried. Then Ta'avao gets a try from a Weber and Harris. Again, it's a line-out move. So this is really a common theme here. 28 points to 17. Ardron gets a try. Some great offloads, especially from Jacobson. 28-24, game on. And then that's when Ben Smith gets injured not long after then. Ioane kicks a penalty towards the death. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of a bit of controversial decision-making. It was 3 minutes to go. The penalty was going to take it out to a 7-point lead. So not that much better. I guess you can't lose the game, but you're not putting it beyond the other team. There's 3 minutes to go. Why not just kick for touch, keep them down in their own 22, potentially score a try and deny them a bonus point? Or even if they get the ball back, they've still got to go length of the field. That's kind of the logic. Even the commentators like Mertens was saying, this is of all the penalties the Highlanders have won, this is the least likely I thought they were going to kick a goal, and they kicked it a goal. So Ioane kicked that, and it made it a 7-point advantage to the Highlanders. And sure enough, I mean, we all look back at this on hindsight and can criticise, but even at the time it seemed a bit bizarre. It was Luke Whitelock that made that call. 79 minutes, Ta'avao gets his try. They got the ball back from the restart, and they kicked the conversion, makes it 31-all. So, yeah, it was a crazy finish. Credit to the Chiefs for sticking through it and managed to earn a draw. McKay had a break right at the end, but then the Highlanders ended up just throwing the ball straight into touch, so they'll be scratching their heads with that one. In terms of the game overall, the stats, the Chiefs' tackling stats were pretty poor, 72%. The Highlanders were a bit higher, 82%. Run meters were relatively even between the two teams. Highlanders had more possession and more territory, fewer penalties conceded, and a higher goal kicking rate. The goal kicking was 100% for the Highlanders, 60% for the Chiefs, so I guess kind of costly in that regard. But yeah, crazy result that we got 2 draws in the 1 week. But yeah, I really feel like that was the Highlanders' ones to win, and then they didn't do it. Credit to the Chiefs. Stuck through the game. Aaron Major will be pretty gutted with that result, and I guess that takes the pressure off Colin Cooper for a week. Chiefs fans, maybe not that satisfied, but their injury woes do continue anyway. I better get a move on. It's 12 minutes. 12:50 is where we're at. Brumbies against Blues. Man, this game annoyed me. I try to keep things neutral on the channel as much as I can, but damn, it sucks when your team is getting utterly dominated up front. Look at these tries for the Brumbies. Fainga'a, 20, 54, 67. They were all mauls. Slipper, a prop. So he conceded 4 tries, 3 to a hooker and 1 to a prop. Oh, pretty poor from the Blues. And Fainga'a may become one of my most disliked players. Andrew Reedy had that honour, I guess. A few years ago when Tana was coaching the Blues, they were playing the Reds, and it was an ugly game. Every scrum, the Reds would just get a penalty win against the Blues. The Blues just couldn't hold them up. And Andrew Reedy was just being a right so-and-so, patting the Blues guys on the heads every time that they would get that scrum win. And Fainga'a did a bit of that in this game. I never had a problem with him before, but he's on my list now. But, I mean, good from the Brumbies. I'm not going to go over all the stuff because it's just going to make me mad. But, yeah, the Blues had a big lead early. They were, I think, 12-0 up. It was an intercept to Clark and Fainga'a from a Nanai pass, which the TMO had to review, but they found it fine. But then, yeah, the Blues just yellow cards, penalties. A couple of yellow cards in this game. Couldn't, like, the fact that it was Tuangafasi and Tui Nukuafe, who are All Blacks props, and they were just getting dominated. And I was kind of critical, as a Blues fan, critical of the Brumbies, like, come on, man, do something else. Is this all you got? Like, all you're doing is just getting scrum penalties, going for the line-out maul, doing rinse and repeat. It's boring. But as a neutral, obviously, if you've got a weapon which is working over and over again, why would you not just keep hammering your opponent with that? I totally get it. So, but as a Blues fan, it was pretty annoying to watch, and I wanted other things to be happening. But it didn't happen. It was a bit of a grind in that second half. There wasn't that much going on. The first half was still pretty entertaining, though. So, yeah, good win for the Brumbies. They needed that in terms of the Aussie Conference, so that keeps them in the conversation. The Blues get a losing bonus point. Can't complain too much. They need to improve their scrum. Line out more defence at times was okay, but at times was just getting beat. Blues had more run meters, 375 to 265. I guess that's an indication of the way the Brumbies play. It's a lot of 4D, kicky, Morley stuff. The possession was 50-50 pretty much, although the Brumbies had 57% territory. The Blues conceded 15 penalties to the Brumbies 9, which is not surprising given how dominant the Brumbies forward pack was. The Blues, again, have got the Hurricanes next week. The Brumbies have got the Sunwolves, so they do have a good chance to really put themselves forward in that Aussie Conference with their last kind of few games. The next one, Bulls against Waratahs. I simultaneously watched this one with the Jaguares one in the morning here in New Zealand, so I didn't pay as much attention to it as I could. The result was spoiled to me because the commentator during this game mentioned the result in this game, so I kind of knew what was going to happen, although not the scoreline. Pollard missed a couple of penalties in this one, but for the most part, he kept the scoreboard ticking over for the Bulls. Halant got a try, made it 10-0 after the Bulls had already kicked a penalty. Phipps' try was some pretty sweet work with the Waratahs having a whole lot of offloads to make it 10-7, but it was another game where the scrum was pretty dominant, and that was for the Bulls. The Waratahs were really struggling in that department. The greatest moment of all for this game, if I was losing my will to live after watching the second half of that game, woke up in the morning, watched this one, was Dwayne Vermeulen's try. Oh my lord. That is an absolute thing of beauty. The guy gets an intercept, and he's got a long way to run. And Dwayne Vermeulen is a big guy, and you're not used to seeing him run anything more than like 2 or 3 meters without having to run into somebody. That's his thing. Him in open space is not something you're used to seeing, but boy did he get into open space. Curtis Rona ran him down. He shoved out a big mitt and kind of forced him to the ground. Rona tried to get around his feet, but he did a little bit of a little goose-steppy thing and went over for the try. That was an absolute marvellous, restored my faith, despite the fact that my team had lost earlier. It was just beautiful. If you're a Bulls fan, you must have been just up and down, screaming at the TV or at Loftus, because that was just worth the price of admission, that one. If you haven't seen the highlights, go and watch it. It was crazy. My daughter's in the other room shouting because excitement with Dwayne Vermeulen. Absolute thing of beauty. It was 18-7 at halftime to the Bulls. At one point, they went out to 21 points to 7, but the Waratahs hit back with Beale getting a try from the back of a scrum. Rona had one try TMO'd off because he lost control of it, but he got one not long after. They did even it up, so at 68 minutes, it was 21 points apiece. 66 minutes, probably 68 with the conversion. But the Bulls got a late try through Matanzima, if that's the correct pronunciation. But he ran through a nice little gap, and it was 28-21. That's the way it finished. Bulls' very important victory in the South African Conference, as the commentator in this game mentioned, that puts them top. So they'll want to keep pushing on. The Waratahs getting a losing bonus point in South Africa at altitude. Probably can't complain too much. The Bulls had more run meters, 457 to 382, more possession, 53%, more territory, 52%. Neither team tackled very well. 71% for the Bulls, that's worrying, and 77% for the Waratahs. Bulls only had to make 46. The Waratahs only had to make 75, so a fair bit of stop-start in that game. But as I said, if you've seen Dwayne Vermeulen do that, it was the greatest thing ever. So, good times. The last one, Jaguares over the Stormers, 5-point victory. So again, pretty close game. Losing bonus point, losing bonus point, losing bonus point, draw, and could have had a losing bonus point. That's the kind of day it was. This game was a bit messy at times as well. Handling errors would be too many for the coaches to be happy with. Jaguares discipline, 14 penalties to the Stormers 8 is a concern. The fact that the Stormers were able to keep in touch by only scoring 1 try shows you how much they were able to convert those penalties into points. But Matera got a try early and Miotti got a penalty, so made it 10-0. Stormers actually missed a couple of penalties through Jean-Luc Duplessis, but he did kick enough to make it 10-9, and then on half-time the Jaguares got one, so it was 13-9 at the break. There had been a bit of handbags in this game. It was a bit of feeling between some of the players. Etzebeth in particular getting into the face of guys like Lavanini, and Krevy was there as well. I think Matera got told off for running in. So there's a few guys with some tempers, and they were on display in this one. Second half, Mojano got a try. So the Jaguares kind of always managed to stay just in front of this one, but the Stormers wouldn't let them get away from it. Willems got a couple of penalties, 20 points to 18. Miotti got one, 23-18. Jaguares got a penalty try on 71 minutes. Engelbrecht got a yellow card. It is probably the best example of what a kind of deliberate knockdown looks like. I don't think he was ever going to get. It was the Jaguares going down the wing. They had 2-on-1, and Engelbrecht just shoved out his hand as the ball was passed between them and knocked it down. Sometimes you see those given, and it's a bit like he could have actually caught it. I don't think he was ever going to catch that one, but it certainly spoiled the play for the Jaguares. So it was a penalty try, and it was a yellow card for him. So that made it 30 points to 18. It looked like the Stormers were dead and buried, more than 7 points down and a man in the bin. But they didn't give up. They came back and scored their first and only try through Sinatla, again from the back of a scrum. So set piece, very important. They kicked the conversion, made it 25 to 30, 5 points behind. And they actually won that yellow card period 7-0. So that was good for the Stormers, and especially they put some pressure on. Matera got yellow carded at the end. The Jaguares were under pressure, so they could have lost this game. But then, as the Stormers were kind of going in for the kill, they lost their own line out. So lost the chance to win it right at the death. They had decent stats in this game. Did the Stormers 394 run meters to the Jaguares 281. But they also had better defense, 85% tackling to the Jaguares 76, but they had to make more tackles, 101 to the Jaguares 63. Key point, I guess, like as bad as the discipline was for the Jaguares with more penalties, the Stormers line out 69%, and that was costly at the end. So it didn't help them that Peterson went off really early, had to be replaced, and Willems took a few knocks in this game, but he carried on, so a bit of a soldier. Stormers got the bye, so I guess they get a chance to work on a few things like that line out and some of their injuries. But the Jaguares start their tour of Australia and New Zealand, so they go to Dunedin to play the Highlanders. That will be interesting. They're all still relevant in that South African conference, and the Jaguares did a good job of putting their foot forward there. So yeah, I watched all these games, 3 of them in full, and these two kind of split between them. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games. How did you think they went? Key performers, key moments. How about that Blues scrum, eh? Not very good. And how about Dwayne Vermeulen? Absolutely fantastic. You guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.